Stan Collymore, great to see you again. Premier League fixture release day. It feels slightly more exciting this year compared to other ones. How are you feeling about it all?
Very excited. I've literally just to my right hand here, by the magic of technology, I've got Premier League fixtures 2022-2023, Premier League logo, and the famous Tricky Trees logo next to it. So I'm absolutely delighted. I've had a little look through already. My club is Aston Villa. We've got Bournemouth away. Looked at the fact that Liverpool have got, I think, all of the big six. I think they've got City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham after the Champions League game. So I've been poring over all the fixtures today, but obviously a special eye on what's going on at the City ground and what will hopefully be a very successful first season back.
First up then, Newcastle United away, St James's Park, probably the highest away end in the world. Obviously the centrepiece of the city, a beautiful stadium. That should be some return for Forest fans as they return to the top flight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's sort of be a very emotional one for my former manager as well, Frank Clark, who of course, I think he helped Newcastle United win their last major trophy, I think the Fairs Cup, which then became the UEFA Cup. So Frank's a Geordie, as well as being a Forest legend. Stevie Stone, he's got no hair, but we don't care. He obviously was not just a young lad at Nottingham Forest as an apprentice, but a big Newcastle United supporter. He still lives in the city. I still keep in touch with him. And he was on Alan Pardew's backroom staff at Newcastle United a few years ago. So there's some synergy there with Newcastle and Nottingham Forest. But look, a lot will be talked about what Newcastle did at the end of last season, likes of Alan Sam Maximan, that they've got, and obviously the huge resources that they've now got. Now Saudi Arabia and the new owners are involved. But it all boils down to the same thing. When we got back into the Premier League, the sort of 94 team, it was about belief. It was about trusting each other. And when you have people in the dressing room that say, look, we expect to stay in this division. We expect to compete in this division. When you look at the performances last season against Liverpool, Leicester and Arsenal, the cup that I touched on last time, that's what the mentality has to be going to St James's Park or Old Trafford or Anfield. Nottingham Forest know they've got players on any given day that can compete. We've seen it. We've all seen it in the FA Cup games. Now it's week in and week out. Now it is about individual players in the collective saying, we deserve to be here. We belong here. And interestingly, I chat to a lot of pros and ex-pros. And again, I think I touched on it last time. When Michael Owen went into his career believing absolutely without any shadow of a doubt that he was going to score goals whoever he played for, and he did. Gary Lineker didn't. He didn't feel he could get into Leicester City's first team. So you're going to get players within the group that on that first match day, just before kickoff, are going to say, do I belong here? And the answer is yes. To every single Nottingham Forest player, you've got there, you're there. Now it's about individual battles that you take onto the pitch against your opponent. And as a collective, to be able to go and play in the Forest way, in the Steve Cooper way, getting the ball down, front foot football. So, yes, that away end I think of it both as a player, but also as a pundit when I'm sat there in the main stand at Newcastle and you look away to your left, right up in the top in the gods, there'll be 3,500 trickies there making lots of noise. The most important thing is take something away from the game, whether it be a point or win, obviously, but in terms of your individual performance and collective, that then you can take on to West Ham at home, Everton, Spurs, and of course the champions Manchester City, which makes a very, very competitive August.
First Premier League game at the City Ground in over 23 years of West Ham United. I mean, obviously had a fantastic season on David Moyes last season. Big club. That promises to be some atmosphere on Trent side, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I remember, I think I scored in one of the Premier League games against West Ham United. Their away kit then was a very sort of light blue, the light blue that they have, and two claret stripes. It was a sort of hark back to a 70s kit that they had. And it was... they had the whole away end, and I scored, I think it was in a header, and I went off running in front of them. I just remember loads of arms going like that from West Ham fans. But I think we won. I'm sure that we won the game. don't forget as well, I mean, the great thing about welcoming clubs and teams and great players back to the City ground is that there's going to be, large away followings as well. Every week there's going to be, fans of Man United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Bournemouth, not so much Bournemouth, but certainly the high end of the Premier League that haven't been to the City ground. A whole generation of supporters that haven't come to the Trent side and see where it's located in the city next to the river, and the pubs and the bars and the restaurants. So it's going to be a fantastic experience for away supporters as well. Let's hope not on the pitch, but certainly going to the world famous City ground. That should be trademarked, by the way. The world famous City ground trademark is one for the ownership. But in terms of two difficult games, I mean, you could say in the Premier League, well, they don't come much more difficult. It's well, they do. Every single Premier League game is difficult. If it had been Fulham and Bournemouth back to back, it would have been difficult. But I think that as a game on its own, obviously you're looking at the likes of, will Declan Rice still be at West Ham United? They've got quality players like Fornals, Mikel Antonio, of course, that is very well known in the city of Nottingham. It'll be an emotional return from him. I expect to see lots of interviews with him before the game. But again, the mentality has to be the same. Every team that comes to the City ground, every team where we go away, we feel we can compete. And because the reality is that, West Ham had a great season last season, but they haven't won anywhere near as much as what Nottingham Forest have over the years. So that pride, that passion, that history has to come to the fore. It very much guided us. I know that in some of the other clips that were on YouTube, my favourite 3 goals, one was against Manchester United, the first game at home in a new Premier League season. And that set us off and running because we felt we belonged. The supporters were right behind us. And I think that it's going to be a really magical game against West Ham United, because I think it's a very competitive team. They are beatable. They had a little wobble after their Europa League exploits, if you remember, towards the end of last season. So some cracking games. I mean, again, I'm looking at Everton and then Spurs and Man City to finish off the month. All of those clubs are relatively, if you looked at clubs and said, right, name the 20 clubs that would make up an all-time Premier League table, City would be in there, Spurs would be in there, Everton would be in there, West Ham would be in there, and Newcastle would be in there. So Forest have got 5 games in a month against teams that are proper Premier League clubs. But you know what? Pep Guardiola, Antonio Conte, Frank Lampard, David Moyes, and Eddie Howe will all be going to the younger players in particular, or that haven't had the pleasure of playing for us, the honour of playing for us. This is a proper club that we're playing here. So very, very exciting first month.
Looking at teams close to home as well, obviously Forest fans having a keen eye on Leicester City. We play them away from home October the 1st, then back here in January the 14th. I mean, you were here for the 4-1 game. We'll take that again, won't we? And
it was it was a statement. It was saying, Leicester City have been the kings of arguably the Midlands, really. I mean, again, I'm a Villa fan. Leicester City, what they've done, the new training complex, the several managers that have taken the club forward, the miracle Premier League title, getting into Europe, playing in Europe regularly has been a phenomenal achievement for Leicester City. There's no doubt about it. But again, I think that in the back of your mind, you sometimes go, if you're Leicester player and you go to play against Forest, you go, we're supposed to be the kings of East Midlands, but this club is bigger than us. They've got a richer history than us. And that will make a difference this season. People will get to know what Nottingham Forest is about over a number of radio phone-ins, documentaries. A lot of the foreign broadcasters will be coming to Nottingham. They'll be picking up your phone and they'll be saying to the club, we want to do a 10-minute mini doc on the city of Nottingham, on Brian Clough, on the great teams that have played, as I'm sure you've had already. So these Midlands battles, just looking at October, Leicester at home on the 1st, Villa away on the 8th, and then Wolves at home on the 5th, away on the 15th. That reminds me of being a kid. A lot of the older ones that I know that will be on YouTube, so I know a lot of the older guys that will be on YouTube and Facebook. There used to be a television show called Star Soccer, and it was basically regionalised. So London would have Tottenham against Arsenal, the North East, it'd be Newcastle against Sunderland on a Sunday. And of course, in the Midlands, we had so many clubs. We had Birmingham City, Villa, Wolves, Notts County were in the top flight, Forest, Coventry, Leicester. So you'd have every single week Star Soccer with a very famous presenter called Hugh Johns, and you'd have, Archie Gemmell and Martin O'Neill up against Gordon Cowans in the Villa midfield. And for me as a 7 or 8 year old kid, it was the most exciting part of the week. So to see that Leicester Villa Wolves mini Star Soccer group at the beginning of October, very, very exciting times to have, all of the West and East Midlands clubs playing against each other again.
Obviously, fans also have an eye on the festive fixtures as well. Obviously, there's a break between November and December, which might be slightly strange for the World Cup, but coming back on Boxing Day for Man United away and then New Year's Eve Chelsea home, that promises to be a Christmas cracker.
Yeah, it does, and I think that's, I'm a big fan of the break, because I think that I was looking at statistics the other day about Kevin De Bruyne, 79 games this season. It's unsustainable. I know that Steve, I'm sure when he's asked during the season about how many games that are played in the Premier League and the frequency, as I said, another former club of mine, Liverpool, they play all of the big boys after Champions League group games. So somewhere along the line, there has to be a sensible conversation about not flogging dead horses, if you like. We want to see players play fresh and perhaps see less games in the years to come. So FIFA have looked at it and said, okay, we'll have this sort of, or Premier League have looked at it and said, we'll have this sort of mini 5-day break of this festive period, which isn't ideal, but it's a one-off season where we've got a World Cup. We probably won't have another World Cup certainly in the next 4 or 5 editions that is going to have a World Cup in the middle of the season. So from that perspective, I think that a little mini break for players to have a little bit of time with friends and family is the right thing to do, and then reconvene, as you say, on Boxing Day. What an amazing game, Manchester United at Old Trafford, followed, the day before, New Year's Eve, everybody's getting ready to go out and party in Lace Market in the town, and they welcome Chelsea. That's what the Premier League is all about. And by then, we'll have a really good idea as to how new signings have bedded in, how the team is coping with the uptick in quality. But what a fantastic, like I say, just that right-hand corner at Old Trafford. They only give 3,000. It's a very strange place for the away fan to be in the corner, but it's a very good view. And then an absolutely cracking game. Wouldn't be at all surprised if one of those games isn't a television game shifted for TV. Forest against United, Forest against Chelsea, Forest against Leicester. I think that, or maybe even Villa will all be games that television are looking at. And that will be another thing. We're looking at this very regimented Premier League fixture list, but I guarantee certainly more than Fulham, certainly more than Bournemouth, certainly more than, with the greatest respect, to Brighton or to maybe even Newcastle, certainly Crystal Palace, is that Nottingham Forest will get plenty of television exposure next season. They like coming down to the City Ground. They like indulging and bathing in the history of the football club. So don't be at all surprised if Manchester United Forest, Chelsea Forest, Villa Forest, Forest Villa are shifted for television, which is another new thing that supporters have got to get used to.
We could dissect every single fixture, but I think finally 51 days left to go. I suppose your message would be, as people plan their away days, people plan their visits to City Ground, just enjoy being back where many feel we belong.
Yeah, just be excited. Be really excited to stick your retro shirts on or your new shirts on and get in the car. There's 4 of you. You've got the radio on. All of a sudden, you're being talked about in football phone-ins again as the sort of main item. Forest have beaten Man United at Old Trafford. Forest fans, give us a call. That's what being back in the big league is all about. And I know it's been 23 years, and I know that there's a whole generation that don't know what it's like. But it won't take you long. Your mums, your dads, your uncles, your aunties that are travelling home and away with you, they'll say, this is what it is. This is why we've been, aching to get back here for the best part of a quarter of a century. So enjoy it. One final thing for me, 51 days away. Very, very excited, very, very proud, of course, to have played for the football clubs. And you Reds!